research it to get more information. But the information you're looking at, what you, if you are requesting it, I have that all in a file. I'm actually in New Jersey right now. I'm not in Staten Island, but I have a file of most of that information. And right beneath us where we lived, by the Serpentine to the left, far left, was also what they call the tunnels, and it was called Dempsey's Bar, where they filmed part of The Godfather. And those tunnels go up to the hills.
Okay.
And there was also the brewery business back then, for, I guess, beer and liquor. I can't remember that particular name, but I have that all in my house in Staten Island. If you want to get together, or you want to call me when I get home, or when I can call you when I get home, I can grab that file and go through it with you. Which is something that Dr. Benimoff gave me. And I could also email you some of that information, which might be quicker. It's up to you how you. If you email me your email, I could start forwarding you some stuff we have that I have on my computer, so you can start looking at it.
Okay. So one question that I had is, you said that Dr. Benimoff had gave you a PowerPoint presentation. Do you still have that? And I think that was on the Graniteville Quarry Park, not on your actual location.
Yes, Graniteville Park, that's right. Yes, I still do have that PowerPoint. I have all his PowerPoints.
Because he wasn't able to find that. I know if you had read if you said you read the article that we wrote about the Graniteville swamp, so we had met with Dr. Benimoff, and he wasn't able to find the PowerPoint presentations that we wanted to kind of add to the article. So if you had those for that would be great.
Which PowerPoint? Which PowerPoint?
The one you had mentioned that you used for
the Serpentine?
Yes, about the Serpentine rocks that are also at the Graniteville Park.
Dr. Benimoff did such great work. He even did some great work with Dr. Fritz and Vice President Kress. I actually printed that because that PowerPoint was something that we used with Community Board 1 to tell them why it's not prudent to build on these hillsides. And you look at all the hurricanes that hit, and you look at what happened at Rose Bank, where that wall collapsed, I think during Hurricane Irene it was? It wasn't Sandy, I think it might have been Sandy. But that wall collapsed, and those people's homes shifted. And they didn't know they were an HOA. And they couldn't live in their homes. They had to rent an apartment or live with their family. And they had to pay the mortgage. And then they went to fight it in court because the people would say, well, that's not our wall. That wall's connected to the last home that lives there. He should pay for it. The administrator said, no, not only is that wall his, it's all yours. And they all had to borrow $1 million. And that has been something that I've been fighting in City Court and Harbor Lights. And I've been using Dr. Benimoff's PowerPoint to demonstrate why this is not wise, why it would endanger our community where I live off of Van Duzer, and our retaining wall for that matter. And we've seen what happened at Rosebank. And we were successful at stopping Harbor Lights with a guy named, I think you know him very well, the architect South Staten Island, where there was another serious damages to that property off of the lake or pond there, and that was just denied by BSA. They didn't give them no waivers. So, you know.
So, because from what are you talking about the BJ's project? They're the same company as in
No, okay. BJ is a different one. This one is mostly by not far from where they have the meeting. What's the name of it? Pinewood Oaks, or Pinewood Oaks, where Chuck Hagan is the president, and Jack Brownwell is over there. This is closer to their area, and they actually called me for an emergency meeting over there for that attempted development where they were going to build these developments there, these co-ops and other stuff. And thank God that BSA got wise enough or smart enough and said, no, listen, we're not going to give you waivers for this community. And they were smart about it, but yeah, and it was, like I said, it was very critical using those PowerPoints. But yes, I do have them, and I'd be more than happy to forward them to you if you like. Just send me an email, and any other information when I get home. Serpentine Rock, it was not like something. It was a myth, I guess, to a lot of people because they really didn't know or were educated about it, and it started happening around the 1980s. When people became aware of it and they started mandatorily had to remove them from the boiler rooms and every other area. People had them in tiles in the kitchen or upstairs because it was fire repellent. And even the firemen used to use it for their helmets and suits and everything. But nobody knew about it. And back in the 50s and 40s, they used to use it as a tablecloth. After they ate, they'll put it in the fireplace, snap it open, and take all the grease out, and it was clean. It didn't get burned. But one of the first ones was one of our founding fathers, Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin went to France, and he had this purse that was given to him. And that's how you got the word asbestos, because I think it's like a French word. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one. But that's how it became known that this asbestos can be harmful. And somehow Ben Franklin picked it up. I have the article. I didn't get to read the whole thing because I have a lot of documents pertaining to this. But that's how far, and then people started studying, and then the EPA did a study back, I think in 83 or 85. I have that article. And they were building, if you remember, that retirement home by North Cannon, off the Valentine Expressway, and they chopped into that Serpentine Rock, and it went airborne. But the EPA did a study on it. They never released the results because they knew that if they came out and said this, a lot of people's property would have either value would have dropped. They would have had lawsuits. They just never released the results. It's odd. Yeah, it's really odd. I have that article too.
Okay.
And that's in the PowerPoint as well. Like I said, I'd be more than happy to send you. I could send you that even now if I get on my computer over here in Jersey. But you just send me a test of your email, and I'll go and start looking at it, and I'll forward it to you.
Okay, cool. So basically, the property that you have, what's the actual community called? I know you said it's on Van Duzer Street. What is it actually?
The actual community is Stapleton.
Okay.
We're like east of Mud Lane Civic. You know the Mud Lane Civic?
Mud Lake Civic, you said?
No, Mud Lane.
Mud Lanes.
Mudlane. The Mud Lane Civic is on actually Van Duzer Street that comes down to us from, and the Mud Lane Civic is actually a civic that got together and had most of those homes there become landmarks. So, if you buy the home, you have to rebuild it the same way it's built. You have to use the same tiles, same window frames, and they have beautiful homes there. I think one of those homes were used for that movie. I think it was called The Boardwalk on HBO.
Okay.
They filmed it there, and I've been in that house when we were fighting for PS 65, and I was the president of the Van Duzer Civic at the time. And we were invited there, and we got together with a bunch of people, including Sarah Power and some other folks, and we went over to McMahon. We garnered over 300 signatures, and we got got access to PS 65 because a lot of people didn't know that PS 65 was going to bust in a lot of people from Wesleyville. And we got the battle we won too.
So I'm a little bit confused. So PS 65 was a public school, and they were gonna actually take over.
No. PS 65 was being rebuilt, brand new, and I think the principal, if she's still the same, is Scottadella, if I'm saying it right. And they just were rebuilding it. It was, I think, an old school, and they refurbished it and built it. It's very nice, state of the art, and they even have an elevator in there. And the library is beautiful. We were actually invited when they opened up the library to us, not to us, but to the students and the community leaders, elected officials. We were all invited. It was very nice. But when they built it, the premise was that they were going to bus in people from Wesleyville instead of for our community. And we combined with the St. George Civic, with Mud Lane Civic, the Van Duzer Civic, which I was the president at the time, and Theo, if you don't know Theo, from the St. George Civic, and we actually gained access, and our students were allowed to go in there. At the same time, when I became the president of that, we did a partnership because we had a woman that lived on my block that was a school teacher, and she got part-time work at PS 65 for what we did, and her children were going there. And what we did was we had a partnership with PS 65 for over 5 years, and we gave them out $4,000 in grant funding to buy magnifying lens, little gloves, all kinds of educational things on how to grow plants, composting. It was a wonderful program. Her husband retired as a cop. They moved to Florida. But it was a wonderful program we had with them, and that's on Facebook. So if you look at Roots of Peace Community Garden, you go to Facebook, and if you look at Serpentine Art, Serpentine Art is under that name as to what we recently did with the Serpentine Ridge. But if you look at Serpentine Art Nature Commons on the Facebook, you see the historical stuff that we've done there as well. But we had that's how PS 65 came about. It wasn't an old school. It was something we built, we furnished. I couldn't tell you if I don't remember if it was an old Catholic school or it was an old public school. It wasn't necessarily to be. They just refurbished it to it. And a lot of students still go to that school, and good for our community. I tell you something else about me. When I left the Van Duzer Civic, I was still a board member. And about, I don't know, what was it, 4 years or 5 years now, I was called into an emergency meeting. Priscilla Marco became the Van Duzer Civic. So she calls me in. And we found out that they were trying to build this big building on Targee Street. I can't remember the address. I think it was 357 Targee. Yeah, 357 Targee. It was the Van Lane's trucking company there, a big white building for years. Across the street from the Roots of Peace Community Garden, which is 390 Targee Street. And in that building, they were going to house highly schizophrenic people with people that had from a homeless shelter and another group. I can't really think of it right now, but as we got into that, we did a study at the time, and I got some friends of mine who were also in law enforcement who worked in some of these and handed out altogether 600 flyers all over the community about why this should not happen. That if you're going to take some highly schizophrenic people, you should have them in a building by themselves and a limited amount, maybe 100 or less. Not over 600 beds for a combination of those folks. Both of them, whether they're homeless from a shelter not that we don't have empathy or sympathy, we do. But what they were trying to do was very toxic and dangerous, and they couldn't answer the question, which is, if a person is offered a medication, are you going to sedate them or are you going to call a bus, which is ambulance? And they couldn't answer the question, because if you're sedating them, then you are a facility. If you're not and you're calling a bus, then you're not. But the civic came together along with a lot of people in the community, and we stopped it. And what we won later on was that finally Councilman Debbie Rose and the Board of Ed bought that school, that building, that whole lot. And they're building PS 70 right now as we speak because of the work and hard work we did to stop it. 600 flyers. And they're right across the street from Utopia for this thing for a long time. So, I'm sorry. But no, PS 65 was not a new, it was not an old school.
Okay. And you had said that PS 65, when they built it, they were going to bus people in from where?
Wesleyville. I believe I remember
What is it called?
Wesleyville.
Lidleyville?
Wesleyville. That's like, I think that's where New Brighton is.
I don't. Do you know how to spell that?
I would have to Google it or go back. But they were gonna imagine these school buses, and one of the things that everybody's worried about is carbon dioxide pollution to the air, car emissions, and you're busing all these students from another neighborhood, which is I think New Brighton. They're gonna bus them in all the way to I don't know how to spell Wesleyville. I have to get it back to you on that.
Leslieville, S-E-L-L-E-S.
No,
West?
No, it's Wesleyville.
Wesleyville, okay, let me see.
I think it's W-E.
Wesleyville.
Somewhere around there, yeah. That's exactly where they're going to come from. So we actually stopped that, and we were able to get that school, and because we stopped that other crazy development, we got a PS 70 going up. And that was a great accomplishment. That was huge, and I felt completely ecstatic and satisfied that I actually went out there with my team and mobilized and put up those flyers twice, and we got over 300 people into that small church. Well, actually, the big church, but the hall was small. It's what was the name of the church? It's right there on Beach Street in Vanduza. I can't think of the name. Man, I used to be a fat guy. You know how much vegetables we donated to that food kitchen? And the names will come to me. God, the name will come to me because the soup kitchen hasn't been open, I think, to my knowledge, because of COVID.
Right.
It's the Lutheran. That's what it is, Trinity Lutheran.
So, at this point, right now, what you guys have with the property that you have up there is, even though it's technically private property that it's owned by the nonprofit, it's still like hiking grounds that are open to the public?
No, we own the land.
Okay.
We own it is, but we own the land, and yes, it is open to the public.
Okay. So, basically you have, now when you said it's at 600 Van Duzer Street, is that like what people would put in their address and that's where they enter the park? And then you said there's a map of the trails.
Well, what a lot of people do is, we never change any wording or any name on our website. Or because we would have to do all of that, and we would have to change our tax identification with the IRS. with New York City Charitable. So we haven't done it, but if you look up Serpentine Art and Nature Commons Inc., you will see the website and you will see the address there.
Okay.
And that's how they find me. And they find my phone number and my email, and they acknowledge that me over here and show me the grounds. And sometimes, most of the time, it was some young college female students who probably were afraid. So I'm glad that most of the time they would come and, with a friend or whatnot. Because you got to be careful going up those hills on your own. You want to be with people or with somebody else, or you call me, and I'll show you the grounds.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so you said you have 3 different trails. One goes up to Park Lane, one goes up 325 feet to Howard Avenue, but that's the one that you would kind of be careful about going on because it's really steep, right?
Yeah, especially, it depends on your physical status. I mean, I got hit by a car during my job. So, I wasn't too happy to go back up that hill, because when I went down, you go down and then on the landing, it's like about you're looking at maybe a 55-degree change instead of a flat. So, going up, either one of the hikes are, it's a hike. Going up to 325 feet to Park Lane, you're better off going to the landing and looking down.
Right.
But also, if you go up, if you go up on we had it cemented, and that's our landing. You could park your car and look down. But the other one, the enclave, is 150 feet.
Okay.
And you go up there and you go to the right, and that's when you see the Verrazano Bridge and Manhattan and Brooklyn beneath you.
And can you tell when you go up there that there used to be a house there? Like, is there still a foundation, or is it just basically like a plain?
You would have to go the route that I was speaking to you about. The route you might want to do is take through Shelter View Drive.
Okay.
And you would have to go in there, and the owner of that house may see you, and she might come out to help you. But that's how I did it, and that's when I saw that foundation, and there was a tunnel. That's when I think what he was describing, and that was quite some time now. I'll have to look back on my records and my emails and the photos that I sent. But I believe that's what he was describing. That foundation, yes, you still see some of it.
Okay. And so you said if somebody goes up there where they see the foundation, there's actually a lady who owns a house right next to there?
Yes, you would have to maybe cross into the to see it closer.
Okay.
But I have binoculars that can take you there.
And I also, when you said that you won the Staten Island Arts Grant for $3,000 and you had an event with a string theory artist, is that what you said?
Yeah.
What is a string theory artist? What did they do?
If you go, you would. I have that pamphlet. Hold on a minute. Let me see if I don't lose you going into my other computer room over here in Jersey. Eric, I can't remember his name. Let me log into this computer. Friends with Eric on Facebook. String theory was basically, he got together with another guy, what he referred to as his mentor. I don't remember his name, relax me. And he came up from all over the grounds, and he would make like a TP here, another kind of thing there. And what he did was you know how you get these strings that you use to move shirts or foundation around these branches and around the fence. It was very nice. It was actually very nice. That was the string theory.
Okay. And then you also said that you had another grant and you had a shed delivered to you guys. Do you put the shed somewhere on your grounds, or is that somewhere else?
Yeah, the minute you pull into Van Duzer in front of it, you will see it.
Oh, okay, cool. And you basically keep like tools in there and stuff for you to assist you with maintaining the property.
Yes.
Okay. And you had also said that you were trying to build. You created a like a butterfly and a bee garden, but you had to remove species of.
No, we didn't remove species. What we did was we made a foundation, because most of it is serpentine rock. So what we had to do was we had to move a lot of that stuff, a lot of that rock, species into your pants. When you walk by, okay, that kind of stuff we had to remove. And then what we did was we put about 40 to 80 bags of good soil in that area, and then we planted all of those monarch plants and honeybees.
Okay. And did you find that you got a lot of honeybees and butterflies that came?
Yes, I actually saw a difference, and I'm there quite some time, and I go there a lot of times, and I saw there was a difference.
And you had said that you did like this whole kind of where you planted the honeybee plants, and then you planted plants that honeybees like to just land on and rest. And
yeah, milkweed. Yeah, we created what we refer to as a community for them to live in.
Cool. And did you notice if they built any hives on the property?
I noticed.
Or were they just like, they would just like use it as like
I would see them, I never saw. You would have to go deep. I mean, the grounds are big.
Okay.
And to find over here, I'm looking at Roots of Peace Community Garden. And the grounds are big, but I've never actually witnessed one, to be honest.
Okay.
See, if you look at Roots of Peace Community Garden, you see there where PS 151 Lyndon B. Johnson school trip to Algonquin. It was June 14th, 2018.
Okay.
It was, and I'm trying to find the string theory, because at that time I put everything on Roots of Peace. Because we have an actual website, but getting access to that thing was like pulling hair, and I just got, the guy that did it was a long-time guy, and he just didn't have the time, and I couldn't create it all up. When we had the Staten Island team volunteer in New York City Parks Green Thumb Project, that article is also on Roots of Peace Community Garden, and right behind them, this was November 5, 2016. How time flies. Right behind them, you see the string theory. You'll see it. If you go to Roots of Peace Community Garden and you go down through it, you see right there is the National Guard people, the guy that used to maintain the grounds for me, the Summer Youth, Green Thumb. And you will see the work that we did at Serpentine. This is the artist. So this is the Staten Island celebration. It was a wonderful event. It was September 16, 2016. And I was still hot that day. I was sweating. You see me with a mic. And I'm sweating over there. But you see the string theory, how he did these TPs. Very nice. Very beautiful. And yeah, there it is. And you will see that I uploaded August 31st, 2016, The String Theory by Eric Alter, A-L-T-E-R. You will see that there. His pamphlet, we created a brochure and everything, and he described exactly what it's all about.
Oh, awesome. And now...
And you will see there when we planted all those monarch plants. when we created that whole site, how beautiful it is, and we had some of the Coast Guards there planting them as well. You see how beautiful that was. My God, we gotta do it again. it was very nice. We gotta do it again, and I was hoping to do it again. And go to Roots of Peace Community Garden and go down, and you will see the string theory even better. Beautiful pictures. What Eric did was outstanding, and you will get it's like a spider web of rendition all over the park. Oh my, it was a wonderful event.
Oh, awesome. And you had said that, so how many species of plants do you think, or do you recall, you said you have a report that are unique species, and this is unique to Staten Island, or unique to the United States, or just unique period?
According to what Daniel said, by the way, during that year of July 31st, 2015, I was invited with Green Thumb and the Summer Youth Program teenagers to the United Nations. We were in their conference hall, Why Food Matters for Cities. It was a great event. I mean, this was, we got to get this country back to where it was. Let me go to my Gmail, and I'm going to type in this guy's name. Daniel should come up. Yes. Oh, this is the picture. He is from Green Thumb. His last name is A-T-H-A. Let me see if I see his report. And together we made almost 497 observations of 98 species. The most commonly observed species was the green comic milkweed. Some of you may remember the ZIHAO observed the bonshead leaves species. You gotta read his article. I can forward this email to you.
Okay.
What's your email?
It's Our Island at...
Hold on a minute. Sure. Let me get... I'm sorry. Where's the point where you refer... Okay, how do I forward this? There's pictures. Gotta be a way. Sorry. I gotta figure out a way to do this because this is something I searched. Okay, let me look at this one. Those are invoices. Alright, I'm gonna forward you this. It has some invoices on it. You can just ignore them, but those are the actual invoices of what we planted there.
Oh,
Alright,
cool.
give me your email.
It's Our Island.
Whoa, this computer's going crazy on me. Right there. Our Island.
At StatenIslander.org. OURISLAND at StatenIslander.org.
Islander with an A?
No, with an ER. So islandeR.org.
Oh, I have you on the computer. I don't have you, but the computer found you. Are you on your computer now?
Yes.
Alright, tell me if you got it.
Let's see.
Someone needs access to your file. Send. Tell me if you got it.
Let's see. Janet McKee's.
It's OURISLAND statenisland.org.
Yes. But I didn't get it for some
just
reason. Oh, there it is. Okay. Got it. Okay.
So you will see the amount of money that we use from this discretionary grant and the groups of people. You see which one is, let me see which one is Daniel. Where is Daniel at? Daniel's the guy with the hat and the blue backpack behind him. I think that's him. You see me with my hat and you see Jack. You know Jack?
No. Which, I don't know. Jack who?
I got the Nike sleeveless hat with my shorts, my shades and my glasses.
Okay. The other one all the way on the right?
On the right, and to the far right is Jack from Pinewood Arts. He's also the VP of Serpentine. And that's Daniel. And these are all the folks that came from all over New York to come visit and mark these things. And you got the email. Yes, you should have.
Yes. Yep.
So if you tap in any one of those things, it will bring you to the naturalist observation, and it will tell you all the species that the green comic milkweed, the spice bush, all the things, the species that they say they found and they marked.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for that. And then the other question that I had was, you had mentioned something briefly about what serpentine rock does when it rains. So you said that the rock itself sucks in the water?
It acts like a sponge.
Even though it's
So
rock?
Even though it's rock, it acts like a sponge, because you gotta remember, the serpentine rock is brittle.
Right.
You could even break it with your hand. If you tap it with another rock, it'll break. And that's how they use it to make, to put around furnaces, because they called it, back then the John Mining Group, they call it soap. And they were able to easily break this rock all over the place. I want to see. So what does is it reacts like a sponge and it holds it. But when it's too much water and it cannot hold it, it releases it. And that particularly happened on Maxey Court, which I'm the Homeowners Association president. And on Maxey Court, we saw that serpentine rock. And its prime look, it's white. What happened was, because we were getting so much rain from, I forgot it was, what's the name of that hurricane in 2007, I think it was. I forgot the name of it. It's in that PowerPoint. In any event, that ground, it was a 10-foot wide crater, just collapsed to the ground. And the builder had a rush to go get some type of, I don't know, whatever it was, compound from New Jersey to cover that, and then he put cement on half of Maxey Court because how the floor collapsed.
Oh, wow, okay. And because it had been serpentine and it just released it and it collapsed, the rock itself collapsed when it released the water.
It couldn't take it anymore. Right, it couldn't take it.
So it like exploded?
Explosion, if you do a TNT, which we were trained on it, a TNT explosive, what it does, it blows out, and it blows back in. So, there was, for that blow, there was nowhere to go, so it probably blew up, and then it went down in, and the ground went down with it.
Right, and this was actually like a street that kind of collapsed?
Yeah, where I live, Maxey Court.
Oh, wow, okay.
I still think I have a photo of it.
So, You basically, the PowerPoints that you had mentioned from Dr. Benimoff have helped you to basically stop builders from building on places with serpentine, because you really should not take down the serpentine if there's serpentine somewhere, like in a hillside or whatever. It's actually better to leave it there.
Exactly.
And that's because, not just because of the cancer that it can cause to people, but also because the serpentine is like going to preserve that hillside better. Is that kind of like one of the things that?
Yes, that's correct. That we preserve it, because if you take away, just like in the proposed site on Forest Avenue, the BJ's, if you take away all of that natural, where are you going to do with it? Where's it going to go? This is the same problem we had with what they were trying to build in the waterfront when I attended those meetings with many groups and city planning. You know, you have to create, they build, I just sent you another PowerPoint, by the way.
Okay.
And when they were building Prospect, I think it's Prospect Street or Prospect Avenue by Bay Street, they built up those new homes. They created a way for the water to flow in and to flow out, supposedly, which is what we would call an irrigational, to mitigate the problem. It didn't work. The water came in from Hurricane Sandy, and it filled up the whole first floor, and they had to take time for it to go back. So I said to them, city planning, you're planning to build.
I'm sorry, I think I lost you again.
I'm sorry, do you know the big wheel that they were going to build?
Yeah,
Okay, I was going to meet Debbie Rose about Cecilia Court at that time, which they were going to build by up a hill from us. And I think it was Harbor Lights. The guy by the building where Debbie Rose is, and he was, I think it was an engineering or an environmental guy, long time ago. And I was on the phone, like I am with you now, talking about the serpentine and why this is not a good idea, the Cecilia Court, and we were talking, and he picked up on it, and he called me over. And he was the one who introduced me into how Stephen McQueen died. I didn't know. And he told me that they found serpentine rock by the big wheel.
Okay.
And that is what I think killed that project. Because if they did, if he was reporting the study, you can't put a big 20-ton or 40-ton metal on top of serpentine rock. It would break before you know it would be out in the ocean.
Right.
It's not solid rock. And just imagine how dumbfounded I was. And I'm at Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm waiting to meet Debbie Rose to have this conversation, and here's this guy telling me, and the wheel has been stopped.
Yeah, I had heard that it was, I mean, they didn't say why, they just said, the engineers said that it was, the wheel would be too heavy. They didn't say why it would be too heavy, but that's really interesting that it would be too heavy because it would hold that kind of weight. So that makes sense. They just said it was too heavy and it would float away. That's what they said. It would collapse into the water and float away. So.
There you go. This is exactly what we're saying. And I couldn't believe that. But this was a long time ago. I couldn't even tell you when it was that I met them, because I became the Serpentine president, I think sometime.
So apparently it took a long time for them to convince them that, you know, they think they're going to make all this money from this wheel thing, but the thing is just going to collapse out into the ocean and you can't do it. So I guess it took them some time to actually get them to that point, because, you know, all they could see was, you know, they wanted to build this because they had Irby, which they still, you know, Irby is still there, and the train, and which, you know, the train only goes to half of Staten, or what is it, a quarter of Staten Island, anyway. And, you know, they have the mall, which basically is just an eyesore that blocks the view of the city, which was beautiful before, and now there's no more view of the city. But
isn't that ironic that now you and I just had the same conversation, and you repeating what this guy told me, which is amazing. I find that amazing that the same thing that I was just telling you somebody told you about.
Basically, where you're at right now is you have this area, the Serpentine Preserve. It's preserved, it's protected, right? Is it like in some kind of land trust, or what is it that actually is protected?
We're part of the Land Trust Alliances that across the United States and Puerto Rico and other parts of the world. We're also part of we have the Terraforma, which is what you may say how can I describe? It's an insurance policy that deals with land trusts. So if somebody tries to build on it, sometimes somebody tries to do this or that, and they are the ones that we were called to address any of these issues. But we're part of land trusts.
Okay. All right. Cool. And then I guess the last thing that I was curious about is you were mentioning about the BJ's project and stuff, and I know I had spoken with Debbie Rose, and they had a press release that basically said that they have the same kinds of mitigation things that you were speaking about before, where it didn't work during Hurricane Sandy.
They built one. You gotta look at Prospect Avenue or Prospect Street. If you drive by there, if you drive down the street to Bay Street, you see that development. There used to be a dollar store there. Now there's some other store there. It's right to not far from Citibank, and across not far from also what is it? Bistro, the Chinese good food place. I forget the name of it. But it's not far from the Citibank. And what they did was, supposedly, is what I was told is, they had, and this is what they were planning with, city planning was planning to do with the new development, the Serpentine project development that they're doing now. And I met with a couple of people, and one of the things that I said about all the projects that they were putting in, and including the Stapleton projects where they're building these buildings, and Cornell University did a beautiful PowerPoint, because they're the ones that offer, if you will, a community to help single parents, single mothers. They were going to provide a community center, libraries, all part of this Stapleton development. And they were building an irrigation system where the water will come in, go down these drains, and then flap back out into the ocean. And that out thing, I don't know if you know what a check ball joint valve is, or a cutoff valve. A cutoff valve basically has a trap door that allows you to go out but not in. And if DP can describe this better as well, the cutoff valve we have to use if we use hydrant water for our garden. And that cutoff valve doesn't allow any backflow of water into the fire hydrant, because it contaminates the water. So we have to put what they call a cutoff valve. And they had a plan to let the water come in, because it's going to come in, and go down these drains that will go right back out to the sea. But then it will have the door, the trap door, which would not allow the ocean to slap the water back in. But we know that the water is going to go above that, no matter what, because they were building these places 7 feet high. The stairs had to be 7 feet high. The water's going to come in. So on Prospect, beautifully, mind you, and I think it was 80 rental, meaning 20% affordable, 80, to people with more wealth, if you will. Elevators. And I know a friend that lives I think she lives on the second floor. And what happened was, the water was not supposed to come in. out. But it came in, and it flooded the garage, and there was water on the first floor where they weren't able to come out. And the only reason why I know is because I spoke to Enrique, and Enrique told me. I didn't go into the building. He told me, he said, I can't get out right now. I can't go food shopping, but I got plenty of supplies, because I was checking. He's an older man. I was checking to see if he needed anything, if there's anything I can do for him. And he said, I got plenty of supplies, but I can't go out right now because there's like 2 feet of water in the ground. So the water found a way in. Because I'm talking to an intelligent woman from Staten Island. That's my granddaughter. So, in any event, it came in, and which is what I was saying. I'm finished. When they're planning to build this, what is called the $2 billion corridor off Bay Street, I said to them, develop a way for it to go back out, because if you don't, everybody's going to be flooded up here. We lost power in Sandy right there on Maxi Court, but Irene was coming down our street like a river, which took me to city planning to, I think it was the sub-basement of, I forgot the address on Mark's Place, and they printed out this big thing that I ended up losing like a fool, that right above us, where they built these tunnels, where they had a brewery there years, I don't know, 50s, 40s, 30s, the reason why is because it was, there was a running river or lake there, or a pond, and it would cool the beer, it would keep it cool. And if you look at the historical perspective of Staten Island, Canal Street in itself, the reason why they call it Canal Street, because it was a canal. There was no Straw Street there. What they did was they pushed back the water and created Canal Street. All of that was water, was canals. So the water, we studied, water will break a mountain and create a river. Water will find a way. And that's what I kept telling them about it, and they didn't like it, that I kept raising these questions. But when it comes to the hillside preservation, when city planning, and here's an irony sticker, city planning had this meeting long before I was called in. And it was a guy named Joh Garcia, who's the president of Serpentine for over 29 years. He's a lawyer, retired lawyer. I was invited as the current president. Jack was in and what's his name, from Pinewood Oaks, I can't think of his name, the president there, don't come to me. And a bunch of those people, I didn't realize, it didn't dawn on me that a lot of these guys are the architect, or the architect for builders. So, the special hillside preservation zoning plan that was there and it was tossed out restricted how these builders were allowed to build. In other words, all right, you're going to chop down 5 or 10 trees, you got to plant at least 8 or 10 trees. And they set it off to the contour of the land, that if you're going to build on a special district, you have to build on a slope and you have to make a 7 feet high drywall. And you have to give them a sidewalk. If we're complaining. This tree, if we plant a new tree in 10 or 20 years, it'll grow, it'll be big, and it'll take up space. Wait a minute. I said, one of your architects just killed 8 trees to build a city court. Yeah, he didn't get a waiver. He didn't get a permit. He didn't get anything to cut those trees down. He just cut them. And everybody stood there shocked and asked me, who was it? And I wasn't going to say who it was, but the guy was there. He knew what I was talking about. And they killed the City Court project, and they killed Harbor Lights project. So, the architects were arguing. They didn't like the plan, but yet they were part of the city planning meeting. Oh, we don't like this plan. This is not what we were told. We don't like this, and we're not going to go with it. These trees. And I said to them in front of this meeting, Community Board 1, I said, you see this? You give them an inch, they want a yard, and they all went crazy on me. They all went crazy. And the board president and the other guy from the south, and said, no, we don't want this. So they threw out that thing, and they're trying to do it again. To build in the special hillside preservation, they're trying to do it. And in Harbor Lights, his name is Mario Maselli. They were trying to build, the owner of that lot had the right to build one home. He wanted to build, I think it was 2 or 3. And he was going to create a road that would have covered Mario's door coming out. Not the front door, the other door. Mario wasn't aware of this, so we called him into a meeting. We actually took him out to pizza, and I said, look, Mario, you got to get involved with this. Mario is a guy that works in the city with bonds and stuff like that, and he got in an uproar. How are you going to build a wall? And we went into community board planning, and we brought him in. We brought myself in, and I had very bad feet, 3rd, 2nd degree burns, but I went there, and we argued, and thank God, community board 1 voted. I think, I don't remember the number, maybe 2 against us, but voted against it, and we killed that project. But Mario went to and wrote a letter. He also went to, oh gosh, what's the name of that organization? The Seattle Club. He went to the Seattle Club on Manhattan and got their backing. And he wrote a letter to the city council, and he won. Thank God. You know, we succeeded in that. And because out there, Community Board 1 or they approved waivers for this guy to build to cover his easeway, or as he was, his access to his other door. But he could, the street will cover almost 2 feet to his door. So if there was a fire in the house, how could he exit? He could be trapped.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, so yeah, we as a Serpentine, we stand to preserve the area and the land and the landscape and the hillside preservation in any way, shape, or form that would endanger the communities. You know, the board president before Jimmy Otto, I forgot his name, the board president, I can't think of his name right now. I see his face, but I can't think of his name right now.
Molinaro?
Molinaro. He had an event at the College of Staten Island, the 1P building, where I was assigned to as an officer. And he gave out these books. I got to find it somewhere in my house. And this book basically told you back in the 1800s, that when they were designing the width of the street, what they took was 2 fire hydrants, opposite directions, to see if they can get by. And that's how they determined then that the city street should be 30 feet width. But they didn't take into consideration that human beings will live on these streets, on these homes. So their sidewalk could be an average sidewalk of maybe 10 feet or 8 feet, whatever the width is. And some of them are maybe as little as 1 feet. And then you have to build these barriers in case a car comes and hits them. And I can't tell you how many racing cars on Van Duzer came down, rushing down, and now responding at a speed line, and they hit people's stairs, destroyed a grass area. I mean, it was crazy. So, you know, they didn't take into consideration about human beings, people living there. And that's what happens with these developers and these builders. They just want to make a profit. They want to make money. They don't care who lives there. Right down there below on Broad Street in Van Duzer, right there, they were going to build 3-family home with no sidewalk against what Mayor Bloomberg and Maharaj of, I don't know, I forgot how many feet, and 25 in each side. They want the waivers to put them together and no front. So imagine the car speeding down. They were complaining about, and they were racing. My car got destroyed one year, 2009, because some people were speeding, and the person hit my car, and he cracked my axle, and I couldn't use it anymore. I had to get the insurance policy to pay me off.
Right.
And the person that hit my car was fighting that it wasn't them. Yet there was a police report, so I said, okay, wait a minute. I'm in law enforcement. I spoke to the insurance policy people that live, I think, in Maryland or whatever it was, and I said, all right, well, why don't you ask that person? And they said it was impossible because that woman who owns that car was giving birth in Maryland in a hospital. I said, well, she wasn't the driver. The person that was driving was a male. And I said, if that's the case, and you are stating that, well, then have them come and meet me at the 120th precinct because they filed a police report. And their police report, if they lied on a police report, I think it's penal law 95, 75, or 175, you file a false instrument, and that's perjury, and that's a felony.
Yeah.
So that reversed course right away and just paid me out for the damages.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that was on Van Duzer that they were racing each other?
Yeah, Van Duzer. My car was parked on the street on Van Duzer and Maxi Court, right about there.
Yeah, now there's like 2 speed cameras over there, I think, so that should be
Yeah, there's
fine.
a speed camera. They find it. You see that light going off and on.
Yeah,
every night
all
they
the
were
time.
racing.
So basically you've been involved in this organization since what year?
I've been with this organization 8 years now, I think.
Okay. All right, cool.
That would be
And
2011.
okay. And
2012,
and basically your goal is to keep it protected, to keep it maintained, to have the public come and visit the park, and well, it's not a park, but the trails and the hiking and all of that stuff, and help people to learn about this this Serpentine preserve and about the rock and all of that kind of stuff. But you were also obviously active in other community issues and building that they're trying to do all over Staten Island, because the land is old, people can't.
Yeah, you know how many times I get an email from a real estate guy that wants to, or I get a letter in the P.O. box that they want to buy part of our land, and we kept telling them, even on Howard Avenue, they bought that red building there that was looks like the people that passed away, and they was just letting it get degrading. So real estate guy bought it. I forgot his name. Amir, I think it's Amir. They bought it and they reached out to me and they wanted to buy our landing. And I said, no, we're not allowed to sell you land. But if you wanna do something and beautify it, you let me know what your proposals are. But that landing, because that landing goes down the stairs and it goes to the trail. And so a lot of people, a lot of real estate would love to grab this piece of land. You know how many homes they could try to build on that?
Yeah, I'm sure I guess it's a lot. I don't know how big the landing actually is. It seems like if it had a convent on it before, it would probably be pretty big.
Yeah, it's the front of it. I would think, let's say the front of it alone, it's got to be 100 feet.
And do you work together with the Graniteville Swamp Preservation group over there, trying to prevent the BJ's project from going forward, or you don't really work with them?
I'm involved with them. I'm also involved with Port Richmond. I help Port Richmond assemble their team together. Anytime if they call me and they need me, and yes, I've signed, I think, letters. I even got involved with not to build in that Mount Teresa with Mrs. Sanchez, but I couldn't go to the BSA meeting. But I signed my name and lent my support. I signed my name to other things and lent my support. And if I'm called upon, like Paul Rickey wanted to stop those hotels, I basically show them how to do it and what they need to look for. And we also supported them with Community Board 1. If it came down to building like that woman shelter, what used to be the Kentucky, because of a lot of reasons. It's not like I said that we don't have empathy or sympathy. It's the simple fact that you're putting a toxic building in a toxic area that has drug dealings, people selling all types of stuff, not far from there, Eric Garner died. I mean, you're creating I can see the idea why the city wanted to do it, because right across the street you have Medicare food stamps place, and then you have the development in Empire Alex, who might give them part-time jobs. But unless you're going to build a community, a learning center, an educational facility, smart rooms, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're setting these people up, and unfortunately, what we learn from experience and our own studies is that these poor women, they have a child or a daughter from a guy, and some of them are not worth the weight, if you will. They're bringing in troubles with them, and it's creating even a worse situation, because those guys are either selling drugs, doing other things that are, instead of doing something positive for themselves. I mean, I had to deal with somebody like that myself and get them out, and it's not an easy thing. So, going up. But, one of the things that we strive on is that, and this is an email that I send out to elected officials, you want to take $1 million away, let's say, or $1 billion to defund the police, or all of these nonsense things going on. And, I said, all right, I understand that concept. And then with the important meeting is that, all right, the governor signed executive orders, I think in 2016 and 2017, releasing the inmates and closing the jails, throwing them into the city. But you're not providing educational, vocational, job programs. What are you doing? What are you setting them up for? And this is, I'm a criminal justice major, and I study criminal justice in science, and my BA in criminal justice. And during those years, in the rough times, you had the Rockefeller laws that incarcerated people for heroin or cocaine. Then after that, you got the TNT, the Technical Narcotics Task Force, that came down even harder on crime. Then after that, you had the 3 strikes you're out. And we did a study on a poor guy in California. He had 2 felonies. He was hungry. He stole a slice of pizza and he ate it. That was his 3rd felony. You want to change the laws, you want to change bail reform, but what are you doing? You're not going to be in office for the rest of your life. A new mayor's going to come, a new governor's going to come, and you're setting these people out for another person to come and incarcerate them and be more tougher. And you're being lenient, which is great, is good. We have to have empathy and sympathies for the inmates and provide them a way of life. But if you're not doing that, then you're setting them up for the next laws that are coming out. We have to be prudent on what we think and how we think and what you're planning to do. If there's no programs out there, then I don't know, maybe you should rethink what you're doing, or as I said, reinvent the wheel. I think they listened to me, because during that time we had a surge of shootouts. I got the Citizens app, and every time I turn around, there's a shootout over here in Park Hills. There's another poor lady, 52 years old, shot in the head, standing in the lobby.
Oh, God.
Recently, all these shootouts, what are we doing here? I feel like if I'm going back to the late 70s and 80s.
Yeah, it's, there are a lot of really different issues and all of these things. So as of right now, you're kind of helping out with, so I don't know if you're familiar with the Graniteville quarry area, issued the permit to the BJ's company, and it was like a special permit, so they only had 30 days in which to respond legally, and they were supposed to have 4 months or something like that. And I think that they got the judge to allow them to proceed with the case, but I'm not exactly familiar with what's happening. So is
I think I read that because at first I thought there was a turtle there, an invasive turtle, and they couldn't find the turtle. They said they did a study, this, that, and the other, and they couldn't find it. Yeah. Which I don't believe. And yeah, I saw the letters, and you know the problem is that's happening. But yeah, I am involved with that, and I think I signed off on that letter. I believe I did. It was sent out for all of us to sign, and I signed off on it. The problem is the people that live in that community, I don't know if they are aware of it, or they care, or they're overwhelmed with their life as it is. And that's what's happening, unfortunately, in this country, where mothers have to work 2 jobs, fathers have to work 2 or 3 jobs, rent is high, gas, electric, and I give you a case in point, the people that build not far what becomes St. Paul's to Van Duzer, they built deep into that, but all the cars come speeding down. So they kept putting up these signs, and then went to Community Board 1, they went to first to us, to the Van Duzer Civic Meeting, and we fought it, but they just bought the house. They didn't really think about it. That's why I mentioned that book that Molinaro gave out about, you know, the fire engines. So when that was already built, they bought it. But now they're in it, and now they're complaining. And I understandably so, and I feel sorry for them. And our community was built as an HOA. We didn't know. We didn't know until 6 months we had water problems, and all of a sudden the builder came out and gave us the offering plan, which is a Martin Act violation. He's supposed to give us, Martin Act violation. He's supposed to give us those books before we even buy it or put any money down. I can't tell you how many times I wrote. So anyway, when they were trying to build right on Broad and Van Duzer without those sidewalks and everything, the borough president heard me, and he came out and he filmed it, and he went after BSA, and we stopped that development because up that hill by the Serpentine from Howard Avenue, and then north from the Seahawks football field down to Broad Street. That's why the area turns into flooded water and patches of ice. So every time it rains real hard and that field gets wet, that water comes down to us. And there were many car accidents before it. So just imagine if BSA would have gave the waiver and those people would have built those homes and people moved into it. The water would have gone into their basement, into their homes, and destroyed the foundation. Just like it's doing to the community that's on Broad Street and Van Duzer, the buildings facing, as you make the left, facing the street. That water found a way into that studio. So they had to get their Bobcat to groove away where the water would come down to Broad Street. And finally they built some drains there. They put drains in the street that are maybe 6 or 8 feet high. They put them in the ground, right across from each other, to at least let that water go into those basins, or catch basins, if you will. So it's dangerous.
Well, it's really been really great speaking with you today in this kind of informal phone interview. I'm definitely going to post some information from our discussion on. We're going to probably write a brief article and possibly post some of it on YouTube as well. And if you have anything that you think of later, any kind of additional photos that you would like to share with us to add to the article, especially about your beautiful area over there, because I don't see a lot of that online. A lot of pictures of the actual.
If you look at Roots of Peace Community Garden Facebook, please take the time. Go to Roots of Peace Community Garden Facebook. you see all of those pictures and everything there.
Okay.
It will be very, very. You will see how we planted those. We made an article. We made the Staten Island event that time, where we were planting those monarch butterfly plants, where the Coast Guard came, green thumb.
Mhm.
Everything is there because that was the only way I could ever post it until I created the Serpentine own Facebook.
Okay. And
But I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you when I get home and start sending you stuff so you can. I'll send you the link so it'll make it easier for you to just grab it.
And these pictures we could use in an article that we would write about this. So it looks like I could.
Yes, those are my pictures. Thank you. And I'll send you this PowerPoint too.
Sounds great. I will look for your email later on then. Thank you so much. It was really great speaking with you.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.